Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about my predictions for the 2018 free agency period. Now, of course, these can change. Some of the guys that I'm going to list may already be signed by the time this video gets up or when you see it. So pretty much at all times this is changing, which makes it, of course, hard to make this video. So, of course, making these, I proceed with caution, because honestly, if I'm making this video while I'm editing it and one of these guys gets edited, or signed, I don't know what I'm exactly going to do. Maybe I just take that part out. Some of these predictions will change by the time you see this, so just bear in mind that some of you guys might be signed already. But of course, with these prediction videos, I have to mention every single time, these are my predictions, and of course, I'm just a guy on the internet. I don't know exactly what's going to go on. I've researched as much as I can on a lot of these guys, but some of these guys are wild guesses, and some of these are just my opinion. Now, these are not really in any order, so I'm just going to start out with Paul Stastny, and this is one of the guys that I have two teams for, and this is the only guy on the list that I have two teams for. And for me, there's either two options here. You have the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens. Now, it was the Montreal Canadiens by far before they did the Mason trade where they let go of a lot of salary and they were able to do a salary dump. If that didn't happen, I didn't think that Stastny was going to come back to the Jets. And now they've done that, they have a lot more cap space to work with. And with Paul Stastny, I feel like he can definitely be a contender for Winnipeg. And the contract, I feel, will be around 3 years, around that maybe 3 to 4 years, and around 5.5. His last contract was at $7 million. I think he'll get a little bit more of a pay cut than what he was making. Next, you have James Van Riemsdyk, who I think will sign with the New Jersey Devils. The New Jersey Devils have a lot of cap space. James Van Riemsdyk, being from New Jersey, I think he's going to sign for 6 years and $6 million. That 6x6 deal, I feel like that's what James Van Riemsdyk is going to get with any other team, not just the New Jersey Devils. I feel like the Devils will be a contender, though, since they need some forward depth, especially winger depth, and James Van Riemsdyk can definitely help the goal scoring and definitely help a top 6 that, kind of needs that depth. And James Van Riemsdyk, I think, will be happy to go to a New Jersey Devils team that is very youthful and is very much a team for the future. On the big beard himself, Joe Thornton, I feel like he'll stay with the San Jose Sharks, and that's one of the more predictable guys I feel coming out of this list. I feel like he'll want to stay with San Jose. They had a good season, getting into the second round this season. I feel like Joe Thornton will want to stay. Not quite the $8 million that he got this past season, but I feel like he'll get 1 year at $4 million. That halfway price cut, I feel like if they're in the mix for Tavares, Joe Thornton will want to take a little bit of a pay cut to make sure that they're able to get some other guys in free agency, unlike last season where he took $8 million. So I feel like he'll take a price cut, but stay with the San Jose Sharks organization. Now, Calvin DeHaan, I think one of the better guys in this free agency class, and when it goes into defensemen, I feel like he'll be signing with the Boston Bruins. And I've heard a few reports that he has been meeting with the Boston Bruins and that he's a good fit. And I feel like that will be the case. The Bruins are pretty good defensively, but they can definitely use another guy that brings some offense and some defense at the same time. I think he'll get 3 years at $4 million. He's definitely shown potential, and he's definitely shown some good play. And I feel like the Bruins will be one of those teams that wants to pay a little bit extra for that defense. Calvin DeHaan is arguably the best defenseman to be out of this class, as some other guys have already been re-signed. So I think DeHaan will get $4 million on the market, and I feel like the Bruins will be the team to give it to him. Now, John Tavares, I didn't pick him to be first, I didn't pick him to be last, but I'm putting him right in the middle of this video. John Tavares, it's already been swirling in the rumors already, and by the time you see this video, he might already be signed somewhere, but right now, I feel like John Tavares is staying with the New York Islanders. He's going to get 10 years at $12 million. I feel like that's what he's going to get if he stays with New York, and if he does, I feel like that's what he's going to get. I feel like he's going to stay with New York just because of the loyalty. I feel like it always seems to happen where we have all this rumors going out. Same with Steven Stamkos, where we thought, oh, he's going to Toronto, he's going wherever, and then he goes back to Tampa Bay. New York Islanders are not the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I feel like more times than not, the star player usually stays with his team and when it goes to the NHL, and I feel like John Tavares will stay. Now, James the Real Deal Neal, I feel like he's going to go to the Philadelphia Flyers for 4 years at $5 million. Now, he's looking towards up of $6 million. He's not going to get that. I don't think any team is dumb enough to give him that. I feel like the Flyers will be a little bit hesitant, though, and give him quite a bit of money. I don't think he's worth $5 million in the markets. I don't think he's worth 4 years, but I feel like the Flyers are going to give that to him. He's a good player. It's a solid one. Did not play the best with Vegas, though, and when you're on Vegas at Golden Knights, when they played all that well, you would have liked to see a little more points, but James Neal was not the player that we thought he was going to be. But I still think he'll get quite a bit of money on the market. I feel like Philadelphia will be the team to give it to him. Now, Rick Nash, I feel, will go to the Florida Panthers. Now, he's said and been considering retiring from the NHL, so if he doesn't sign with the Florida Panthers or some other team, I feel like he definitely has a decent chance of retiring. He's age 34, so he's getting up there, but I feel like, you know, if he doesn't want to retire, he might want to go to a place that's a little bit less, I guess, you have a little bit less of a spotlight on yourself. You know, it's an easier place to live and all that. So I feel like going to the Florida Panthers will be a good decision for him and his family. Going to Florida, that's going to be nice for him. I feel like if he ends up staying in the NHL, he'll go for 2 years with the Florida Panthers organization at $3.5 million. I feel like that works pretty well for both sides. Now, Carter Hunt is an interesting case, as we've seen a lot of rumors and a lot of reports that he's already been practically signed at this point by the Buffalo Sabres, and I have him signed by the Buffalo Sabres, and it's been pretty much reported that he would go around 3 years at around $4 million. So I'm going to put him at 3 years, $4 million, because I feel like they're a pretty safe bet. With Buffalo, they're letting go of Robin Lehner, and Carter Hunt is a really risky signing there, kind of like, you know, with Carolina, with that Scott Darling signing last season. It's risky, but with Buffalo, I feel like they will seem like they have that guy. Carter Hunt will have to see if he continues that play like he did in St. Louis this past season, but I feel like he will sign Buffalo, as reports have been saying. Another interesting player where we don't have really too much information on where he's going. There's a lot of teams that are interested in him, but I feel like he'll be going to the Arizona Coyotes. 5 years at $4.5 million. He had a really solid regular season this season, getting 66 points in about 70 games, and he was great with Vegas Golden Knights. Not great in the playoffs, though. It was a little bit shaky and a little bit inconsistent. Well, with Coyotes, I feel like they're going to give a little bit more cash than usual this offseason. I feel like David Perron will be one of those guys that they do end up signing. He'll be a good, solid top 6 forward for them, and another guy they can use for useful assets going in the future, and possibly for a playoff contention. Signing David Perron is going to be a solid player. I feel like the Coyotes are a decent fit. And with Arizona, they could be a playoff contender next season, and adding David Perron, that'd be a lot better for them. Now, Tyler Bozak is another interesting player where, you know, he might be going back to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't think it's likely, but I feel like he'll end up signing with the Montreal Canadiens. Tavares is not going to be a Montreal Canadian, let's be honest, and if they don't get Paul Stastny, I feel like Tyler Bozak will be their next bet. I mean, he's a third-line center, but they're going to have to play him like a second-line center or possibly even a first-line center, like Toronto did like 5 years ago, which is going to be very fun to see. I feel like he'll go to the Canadiens for 3 years at $4 million. Now, it's going to be around that 4 to 4.5. I feel like the Canadiens, if they don't get that Paul Stastny, if they don't get that John Tavares, if they don't get those two guys, I feel like Tyler Bozak will be one of those guys that they really need to target. I feel like they'll get that cash and give that cash right to him. With Robin Lehner, there's a few teams that need a guy like him that can fill that backup role, but also play a little bit of starter if needed, and I feel like he'll go to the Calgary Flames. And Mike Smith has not had the healthiest history, and with the Calgary Flames, he hasn't played the best. So having Robin Lehner as a, you know, kind of a backup option will be good for the Calgary Flames. I feel like they'll give him 2 years at $3 million. He kind of needs a little bit more resurgence after the bad season with Buffalo, so I feel like he'll want some revenge, and this will be a huge contract for him coming up to see what he's really made of with the Calgary Flames. I feel like that's an interesting option that the Flames will pursue. You know, I'm not a biggest fan of Robin Lehner, as I've said before, but I feel like he's a decent fit in Calgary where they kind of need a guy like him. With Thomas Vanek, we've seen reports of him being really interested, and the Red Wings being really interested in him, and we've seen a deal being almost finalized. But I feel like, I have a hunch that it'll fall through the cracks, and he'll end up signing with the Boston Bruins. So the Boston Bruins, you know, they haven't really been on this list too much, and I feel like they will want to have a little bit more offense going into next season. And Thomas Vanek had an excellent season with Vancouver Canucks, just pure scoring goals, and I feel like that was a good asset for him. I feel like he'll want to go with the Boston Bruins, and I feel like he'll be a good fit there. I have him at 1 year, $3.5 million. I feel like it's a route where he's going to get. I don't see him getting more than 1 year, but the Boston Bruins, I see a decent fit, and he'll definitely play well there. Michael Graviteh is another interesting another interesting player in this free agency, and he's a decent forward. I feel like he'll be signed by the San Jose Sharks, 2 years at $3.5 million. He's a guy that I feel like could be in a lot of places here. He seems to fit on a lot of different teams, but the Sharks, you know, on my list so far, have not been on too many teams, and this would be the first signing that they'd be on. So I feel like the Sharks, you know, they have a lot of cap space, and they're saving up for a lot of big guys. They might not get those guys, and they might want some other options, and Michael Graviteh would certainly be that. At $3.5 million, he brings some offense, and would be a good fit on a mid-6 on the San Jose Sharks roster. Now, Riley Nash is another interesting guy that is pretty underrated, and I feel like is a very solid player throughout this free agency. And I feel like he'll go to my Dallas Stars, and that's a little bit of a biased opinion because I really want him on Dallas. He played very well last season with the Boston Bruins. I mean, he got like around 44 points. He was very underrated and had a very, very solid season with the Boston Bruins. I feel like he'll go to the Dallas Stars for 2 years for $2 million, and I feel like that's going to be a steal for Dallas. A great player and a very underrated player, and I feel like he'll go to wherever he goes. He'll have a good signing, and wherever team he goes to will be definitely value. It'll be a good signing for both sides, and I feel like he's definitely one of the more underrated players throughout this free agency class. Now, the last guy I'm going to mention on this list is Patrick Maroon, and I feel like he'll re-sign with the New Jersey Devils for 3 years at $3 million. He played decent in New Jersey, had a very good season with New Jersey and Edmonton, so he had some experience there, and I feel like he'll want to sign with New Jersey once again. And I feel like that's going to be one of those guys that, you know, is all in these rumors, and we have all these teams listed, but I feel like he'll go back to the team that he was traded to, the New Jersey Devils. I don't think there's too much excitement going on for that. So there you have it. There are my predictions. A lot of these guys, again, will probably go to other teams. Again, I'm not usually correct with a lot of these guys. If anything, I'd be very, you know, excited if even like 2 or 3 of these guys got correct. I really am not really confident in my list, but hopefully that some of these guys go correctly. I'm just hoping that, you know, there's some excitement in this year's class, because obviously from the players that we've listed, this is a 15 players right now. It isn't the best free agency class. I'm hoping that we see some trades, but it doesn't appear to be really an exciting free agency class. It's not great, so we're going to have to see a lot of other stuff. It's not looking like the best class ever, so again, there's not a lot of fantastic players coming out of this, which means that the guys that are at the top will get a ton more money. But all I'm hoping for is some excitement. It doesn't matter whoever signs where, I'm just hoping for some actual news. Again, we don't have a lot of great guys in this free agency class. It's looking pretty weak, so I'm just hoping that we see some excitement for once. So that's about it for today, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below what you think of my list. Who do you think will go where? What do you think the big names will go in this free agency? I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.